for a moment of silence. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided indicating the time and place the same in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws 1975 by advertising notice in the Star Gazette and the Express Times by posting a copy of the bulletin board in the municipal building. Roll call, please.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. We have a couple proclamations apparently to read. I have one. Before I do that, I want to welcome my wife Trudy and my son Douglas and my daughter Tia. When I started here 15 years ago, Tia would have been 1. So, which is funny because I was talking to Jim Mangucci the other day, and it occurred to me because his son just had his 22nd birthday that Nicholas would have been 7 way back then. So a lot of people have grown up and grown older over the course of the last 15 years. But I want to thank them for coming and joining us for the evening. Couple lasts for the evening. Tonight is Ms. Stove's last meeting with us here in Lopatcong. So I have a proclamation for her from the council, which I'd like to please read to everyone. This is proclamation, Township of Lopatcong, Mary E. Dobbs, Chief Financial Officer. Whereas Mary E. Dobbs served the Township of Lopatcong as Chief Financial Officer since 2004. And whereas Betty, as we so fondly refer to her, began her career as a Chief Financial Officer 27 years ago, having worked for numerous towns in both Hunterdon and Warren counties. And whereas emergent situations and disasters arise unexpectedly, even with the best planning, and the government needs to have quick access to reserve funds in order to mitigate damages and send help when needed. A fiscally responsible government is able to sustain programs designed to provide fast relief to its citizens, and depending on the extent of the budgetary problems, be able to fund its own programs in ordinary times. Betty has been able to effectively manage the finances of the township over the years when the economy was very good, during times when disasters have struck. And whereas Betty, through the performance of her duties and responsibilities as Chief Financial Officer, has earned the admiration and high regard of those with whom she has come into contact and the affection of her fellow public servants, therefore, be it resolved, the council and citizens of the Township of Lopatcong, County of Warren, State of New Jersey, congratulate you and wish you a happy and healthy retirement.
Thank you so much. If you could stay down there, please, Mayor Steinhardt. And if I could call up former Councilman Mangucci, please. I know.
Good evening, everyone. The first thing I'd like to do is thank Council President Chesley for allowing me to do this. I don't think Doug's surprised, to be quite honest with you, especially since he saw me hauling a box out of here this afternoon about this size. But the first thing I'd like to do tonight, because it was always so important to me, was the family. I'd ask that you all give a nice round of applause to Doug, Tia, and Trudy, who have endured this tonight. Proclamation, and before you give a round of applause at the end of it, I'd ask that you hold it because I have a few things to say. I don't think that'll shock anybody, so if you do that, I'd appreciate it. The proclamation of the Township of Lopatcong for Douglas J. Steinhardt, Mayor. Whereas Douglas J. Steinhardt was elected to the office of Mayor in November of 1999, and whereas Douglas J. Steinhardt served continuously for 5 terms, the longest-serving mayor in the history of Lopatcong Township. Whereas Douglas J. Steinhardt tirelessly devoted 15 years to our community during a period of time that numerous projects were initiated through his leadership, and whereas Douglas J. Steinhardt has always been willing to place his concern for the public good ahead of his personal interests, and thus has earned the admiration and high regard of other civic leaders and the affection of our residents. Whereas our community looks back over its many years of being, a few individuals stand out for their caring, their contributions, and their visions. which have made Lopatcong such an outstanding place to live. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the council and citizens of the Township of Lopatcong, County of Warren, and State of New Jersey are immensely proud to recognize Douglas J. Steinhardt for his leadership, vision, and integrity that has sustained this community, and thank you for your 15 years of public service. For a guy who's not usually at a loss for words, I struggled with what I was going to say tonight. This gentleman is not only a political friend of mine, but also a very personal friend of mine. He has helped me through some personal times, passing of my mother in 2000, passing of my father in 2007, and through my divorce in 2011. That's what he's done for the township residents. He stood by us through thick and through thin. I come up with the words integrity, class, and leadership. But the one I'm going to settle on is excellence. That's what we've all seen for the last 15 years. It's pure, out-and-out excellence. Well, most of you don't realize in this room, other times that Doug and I were out running around, hurricanes, whatever needed to be done. I've seen this man carry sandbags to stop water from going into a home. He's organized several emergency events. When the snowstorm came through 3 years ago, I made the right onto Buckley Hill Drive, and the trees were splintered. It was him that called me. We need you to get out here. We need to open up for a shelter. You saw the fireworks going off. It wasn't your tax dollars. It was a donation. When you saw candy at Easter, egg hunt, that was a donation. Several times this man has put out his own money, all for the good of the residents of this township. In the beginning, I'm going to quote a Democrat if you don't mind, Doug. I think it was Bobby Kennedy who said, some people see things as they are and ask why. I dream things that never were and say, why not? In the end, we're like Ronald Reagan. We weren't just marking time. We made a difference. That's my speech for tonight. Excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, your mayor, Doug Steinhardt.
Thank you. I will save my comments for the end, if that's okay. Let's get through the agenda. Let's see, old business. Actually, public comment on agenda items first, please. Yes, ma'am.
At Joe Imhoff, 240 Aurora Street, Peabody. Just a question because it relates to new business 5 or 6 and 7 regarding the high school and that kind of stuff. And I know this has come before council before about an emergency, a second egress from the property in the case of emergency. Can somebody just give us an update as to where that stands tonight, where it might be coming out into the township, and if any of the burden of the cost of this second egress is going to be borne by Lopatcong?
I'm not aware of any second egress. I don't believe the district has planned for one. I don't believe there's one in their budget. I know it's been discussed, but I am not, Joe, aware of there being any planned second road into the school.
Out of the school?
Out of the school. Well, in or out.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I can tell you just from like having taken a site tour at a point in time, just talking to Bill Bauer off the cuff, that they talked about it, and they've looked at it. but their concern is the cost is
Was either discussed at a council meeting?
We've talked about it. Multiple people have come here and asked us
Yeah.
about, what our thoughts are on it, and if there's anything that can be done. There were discussions about whether they could go out through like the water outwards property or like across the top of the hill out toward Rose Lane. But as I sit here today, I am not aware of any plan nor of any budgeting by the district or anybody else to do anything related to a second source of ingress or egress. And in fact, you mentioned 6 and 7. 6, I don't think has to do with the school. 7 does, and that's just enforcing the title 39, the parking and speeding and stuff on that property, because it's presently still owned by the SDA, and they won't do anything until we adopt an ordinance. 8 is the other one that has to deal with the school, and that is born from the fact that just to kind of get ahead of things, but to bring up the speed, the SDA had previously represented to the school district that they would pay for the improvements to the Belvedere Road and Roseberry Street intersection. And I mean, it was even represented to the planning board when they came and presented the application to the board. The SDA has since advised the school district they will not pay for the improvements to the intersection. They only build schools, they don't build traffic lights. I actually went down and met with Charlie McKenna, who's former governor's counsel. He's now the head of the SDA. On one occasion, I've spoken with him on others. The district has been down multiple times. And candidly, the SDA's position is that they won't pay for it. They'll never pay for it. It's not what they do. So the school district has been trying to find, has gone to the county. They've come to us. They've talked to the town of Peaburg. And what they're asking the towns to do is see if we can make application to the DOT to see if there's any discretionary funding as LOPAT. They're going to ask Peaburg to do the same thing. My understanding is I just got a message from a call from Mr. Shando. I can't remember if it was today or yesterday, but within the last 24 hours, asking for a meeting between the representatives of LOPAT, Phillipsburg, and the county to try to coordinate all 3 efforts to go and ask for discretionary funding from the DOT individually that can be pooled to try to offset the cost. The cost, as I understand it, to improve that intersection is somewhere in the neighborhood, and again, don't quote me because I haven't seen it, just what I've been told, is somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.3 million all in. That's the light. There's some land acquisitions that have to be done on all sides of the intersection in order to provide for turn lanes, and then obviously the installation of the appliances too. And I assume there's engineering costs and whatnot worked into it. But that's what number 8's about. But again, unrelated to the emergency ingress and egress. Okay. Sure.
I just have a couple of quick questions. Jennifer Leifer, 32 Jade Lane. Agenda item number 2 or number 3, is it, for the adoption of the Highlands Area Exemption Ordinance? I just wanted to know, without designating Paul as as the authority in this, what happens? Do people have to go directly to the Highlands Council now? Is that how it exists? If it exists now, maybe you can answer that. Just curious.
This is a vehicle, if we were to adopt this ordinance, to allow the municipality to review and approve certain applications without them having to go to the Highlands Council for a consistency determination.
Yeah, that I understand. So
It's fairly limited in nature, but it is an avenue to keep some of those applications here locally as opposed to going to Chester to the Highlands Council.
okay, right. So in the absence of a designee, they have to go directly to the council. I'm just kind of curious, what time do you expect that to take in terms of what cost the township might take on in doing this?
There's I believe in this ordinance, there's a fee structure. Somebody would have to
Right.
pay fees in order for this review to be done.
Okay, so that's just something to consider, that if
Yeah.
we don't do that, then the responsibility falls directly to the council to continue to do it. Although I do see that it does reduce the amount of, hoops that people need to jump through to get things done. With that said, let me quickly, I wrote down some notes earlier when I thought about this. Which exemptions is this going to authorize you to allow? Do you know specifically which Highlands exemptions they
There's
are?
only about 5 or 6 of them,
Yeah, right,
and it's only related to the planning area,
right.
and I can tell you in a
Because
second.
I looked online and I saw what was.
I can tell you right now,
the
it's
stamp-
exemption.
you might-
It's exemptions 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Right, that's it.
There's
Yeah.
17 exemptions.
1, 2, yeah.
So 9 through 17,
I have 4,
we would
5,
not be able to do anything, and 3, we would not be able to do anything.
Okay, excellent. I just wanted to clarify that. And obviously it's the council itself that really limits the scope of those projects and whatnot and what we're allowed to authorize through the municipality. Those determinations are made on the council level, I mean, at Highlands Council.
Well, what happens now, we're in this interim period between when we had our petition approved and when we're going to have a Highlands ordinance in place. And at this point, every application or any ordinance that we do has to be sent to the Highlands Council for a consistency determination. Some of these applications, the work that's being proposed fall under some of these exemptions.
Right,
So that's why the Highlands Council is giving the opportunity to municipalities that are in this interim period to adopt this ordinance and allow these certain type of projects to fit into these exemptions under the supervision of somebody who's had the training, I've had the
Right.
training,
Right.
to be able to
yeah, I know,
review them.
I'm certainly not presenting much of a challenge. I just want to make sure I understand the process entirely. Okay, I think that pretty much clarifies it. I think that I guess what it comes down to for us as a township is determining the cost. You know, if we end up taking on a cost that we currently don't have to take on right now, although that does force, you know, our residents to jump through a few extra hoops and it make it a little bit harder for them to get approval for this or that. I don't know what the right answer is. I just think that that's something for everyone to consider. And this is only the first reading, so am I going to get a chance to see a copy of this? Or-
Yes.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Bear with me, please. Gina, 220 Strikers Road. I have a question, I guess not a question, a concern, ordinance, agenda number 5, ordinance number 2014-15. It's saying it's being updated for wording that has been omitted. Could we possibly know what that wording is?
Do we do it now or do we do it when we do the actual?
Doesn't matter. We can, I guess you can ask her questions. We'll debate it. You can
Okay.
debate it later, but.
It won't be, I promise. Are you going to provide that now or are you going to do it later?
You know what it is?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it. To be in line with what we actually do, mayor and council actually vote on the recreation committee. I had to put that in there. And I also put in there that that a member, if should they be kicked off, does not have to be heard in person by council, only if they choose to. So it's not mandatory for them. It's at their choice.
Okay, is this going on with the same ordinance 14-01, February 5th, that was made, that was abolish the commission and make it to committees that fall in the same category?
It's a committee now. That ordinance is
Correct, but
passed.
does
That's a
that, I
committee.
mean, that's the ordinance for that committee now, correct?
Yes.
So why wasn't this, my question being, why wasn't this picked up then,
Because
instead of doing
I-
this as another first reading?
Right. I was
Well, it's
going
an
through
ordinance. The
them
only
and
way the
checking
ordinance
them
can
and
be
just
amended
cleaning
is
it
by
up.
first and second reading, so.
Okay, all right. Because my concern is like we're focusing on the recreation committee, which is important because it brings the, community together and provides opportunities for community to do things together. But I see it as we're spending more taxpayer money to update an ordinance.
Well, if you
So
let me know
that's
how
the
much it is,
basis
I'll
of
pay
it.
for it.
And it's not
That was my
to
mistake.
bring power or change ordinances to give power to a certain few. And I guess that would be acceptable, but that's just,
I'm just trying to make it more of a democratic process and allow people the option to option in or out of the hearing, which I think gives them more flexibility and it doesn't, tie them down. I mean, I just went through them and I'm trying to clean things up.
the other committees are also appointed by just the mayor, or is the
No,
mayor with
mayor and
consent?
council. Mhm.
Okay. So are they all stated that way as well, or are they going to be updated as well?
They should be, any that aren't should be, because that's how our charter reads, so.
Thank you.
And then you have, I guess we can click.
Yeah, we'll get
No,
there,
we're
we'll
not
get
there.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. All right, so, yes, sir.
Eric Johnson, 361 Stonehenge Drive. I actually am a member of the Recreational Commission or Committee. I do have a question. Are we a commission or a committee?
Committee.
So it is a committee because the current ordinance says commission.
It hasn't been updated yet. We changed it in February, and the book is only updated once a year.
Okay, so the online
won't see
version
it.
is
Right.
not correct.
Mhm, yeah.
Because the current online version actually does give the person the right to be heard or not to be heard. It already is written that
Right,
way.
yeah.
I guess I don't know how it's currently
No, we haven't
written, so-
updated the book yet.
So I'm not sure.
Well, I
And
think
and
that's part of her rationale for doing
Right,
it. When it
it
was
hasn't
changed to
been
the committee
posted yet.
form, that language wasn't carried over, so it's going to be
Yeah.
included in
And I guess my other question is in combination of number 4 on the items and number 6 with the appointment. Although, Robin's been coming to the commission meetings, and she's great. I think she would do really well. But I question the timing of everything. We're introducing a new ordinance at the same time as appointing a committee person. And I don't know if that's the right message we want to be sending. Maybe if we're going to be doing the changes to the ordinance, we hold off on getting a new committee person until the beginning of the year. I just don't think it's the right message that two things are happening at once regarding the same.
Well, it's only first reading of the ordinance.
Right, well, still, it's the introduction of it at the same time, isn't it? Right? That was my only concern. I know the last couple of years has been pretty up and down and crazy with the council and the public, and
Right.
two things are happening at once.
Robin has been very dedicated both to the 150th and to our.
Oh, I'm not saying she isn't. She would be a good asset, but I'm saying maybe the timing of it's a little, we don't want to send the wrong message out there. That was all. So take that in consideration. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Marlene Dick, 10 Byron Drive. Similar to what Eric was saying about timing of ordinances, this is probably, I don't recall ever seeing so many ordinances on a single agenda before, but be that as it may, I'm hoping as you go through these ordinances tonight that they will each be explained in layperson's terms exactly what the motivation was for changing the ordinance and then putting into layperson's terms so the public can understand exactly what the change, how that will affect things. And specifically, what I would like to know, and hopefully maybe when you get to the ordinance that will become evident, is for ordinance number 4, the clothing allowance for qualified active members of the township's fire departments. I'm hoping that you'll be able to define for us what a qualified active member is, and if there is a maximum allowance that's being put into the ordinance, that would be appreciated if you can share that information. And I think that's the main thing. So basically, if you could explain the motivation for each ordinance change and then in layperson's terms, what the actual effect does. And lastly, on the Recreation Committee ordinance change, just echoing on what Eric said, I just want to make sure I understand. If you don't adopt this ordinance, the way things currently have been working in past years is that you have committee members who are appointed by the mayor. With this ordinance change now, you would appoint committee members with mayor and council's consent, and someone could be asked to be removed from the committee, correct? And then there would be a hearing in which I guess there wouldn't have to be, but there could be a hearing.
Yeah.
And then council and mayor, I guess, would vote on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a big change. Okay, thank you.
Actually, it's not a big change. I think Mr. Johnson just pointed out it's in the old ordinance. It just didn't get added into the new one. We can debate that later. All right, anybody else? All right. Motion to approve the minutes of the October 14, 2014 meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Questions, corrections?
No.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Del Carro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McVeigh?
Yes.
Council President Pressley?
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes, under new business, item number 1 is to authorize a partial payment of $128,168.71 to A&A Curbing Inc. for work completed on the South 2nd Street Improvement Project. Mr. Sturbins?
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, I issued a letter on this, I believe, on November 24th, and I'm recommending that you approve the contractor's invoice in that amount. The quantities are correct, and the invoice reflects the work that was done at that time period.
Based on Mr. Sturbins' recommendation.
Motion to make payment.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Sir,
Do you have something, Brian?
Yes,
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
second.
it's South Third Street.
My bad. Okay. With
Thank
that
you.
correction, go ahead.
Councilwoman Myers.
Yes.
Councilman Belterra.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kate.
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes, item 2 is to approve a payment to Dulane Contracting in the amount of $118,688.91 for work completed on the Route 57 pump station project pursuant to USDA approval. Again, Mr. Sturban.
And this invoice should be paid. Your sewer engineer, Daniel Madden, is already certified to the fact that this invoice is correct and should be paid.
Based on Mr. Sturban's and Mr. Madden's recommendation,
Motion to make payment?
Second.
discussion, roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belterra.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kate.
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes, item number 3 is ordinance number 2014-13, first reading to adopt the Highlands Area Exemption Ordinance prepared by the Highlands Council, authorizing engineer Paul Sturbis as the exemption designee to issue municipal exemption determinations for applicants on behalf of the municipality at no additional fee. Well, you gave an overview already. Anything additional you wish to add?
No.
Based on Mr. Sturban's explanation and recommendation, is there a motion on item 3?
Motion. Second.
Discussion.
Yes, I have a couple of things. Just two things. Katrina, is there any legal liability if like there was damage or an accident or anything like that? Does the township have any liability whatsoever to, on behalf of the litigation?
I don't see how there would be, what kind of damage you're talking about, but this is an exemption for Highlands, so,
Right.
it would be if someone, so if you look at the exemptions that are listed in your packet, they're for, if someone building a single-family home, normally they'd have to go through the lengthy Highlands
Right.
process.
Yeah, I
So,
understand that.
it's a Highlands thing, so Highlands it's Highlands rules, and they're letting us make those decisions for them. So
Okay.
they are waiving their right to say we didn't do it right.
Okay. Okay, so we have no legal liability whatsoever.
No, it's just it's a way for us to administer the rules.
Okay. And I just have a request based on reading this in its entirety. I'd like council to be contacted and copied every time a request that falls under the Highlands comes in, so we can be abreast of knowing what is coming in through the township under the Highlands, so we can all know what's going on and when the approvals have been sent out. I don't know who's responsible for that, for receiving the request from residents and non-residents, non-residential.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. I can copy the mayor and council, indicating my decision in these regards.
Okay.
It's not
Yeah.
a problem at all.
As soon as they come in, before the decisions are made, but, as they come into the township, as the application comes in from a resident, if it could be immediately
Right.
sent to.
I can, advise the mayor and council pre-decision and then post-decision, whatever you want, it can be done.
Yeah, actually both. Pre and.
Not a problem at all.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. That's all I had.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Belterra?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kate?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes, item number 4 is ordinance number 2014-14. It's a first reading to adopt an ordinance to establish a clothing allowance for all qualified active members of the township's fire department.
Okay, real
That
quick.
was yours.
Yeah, this is mine. A lot of townships, I'll just try to go through this really quick. A lot of townships in the state of New Jersey already have a clothing allowance. Currently, what you need to do is you have to have an ordinance on file to be able to give them a clothing allowance. The fire department has wanted to institute this for some time. They weren't quite sure how to do it. I had wanted to do it too, because I know when family members of mine were in, there was a clothing allowance. So I looked into it, created an ordinance. What we determined is that the amount that will be given will be determined by resolution. So every year, we can figure out our budget, figure out how much we want to give the firemen. The ordinance just outlines how we would go about doing that. Basically, they need to have answered and attended at least 40% of the fire duty. Such percentage to be figured over a 24-hour day throughout the whole year. And the fire duty includes calls, drills, and meetings. This duty requirement shall apply to all active members of the fire department. Should they be expelled for any reason, they forfeit their ability to receive benefits. So what would happen is we put the ordinance into effect, and then we issue a resolution each year to give them a clothing allowance. Typically, in the towns like our size, it's between 150, 250 a year. Again, that's determined based on the finances of the township.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Motion,
Motion.
second,
Second.
discussion.
Yeah, just a couple things. Are you saying, Lori, $150 to $200 a person per year
Per year.
for active members?
Active members who've made 40% of their fire duty.
Okay, why don't we put that in there now, and have some sort of cap as opposed to just kind of leaving it open-ended?
Because, well, it's up to council. Council has to do it. And I mean, if you have a council in here that chooses to give them like $10,000, that's council's choice. But to cap it and then to have to change it, you have to do first and second reading. And as Gina just stated, that costs money, whereas a resolution does not.
Okay, and how, has this all been discussed with all the firemen? Are you guys all aware of this and everybody is in agreement with it?
The chief and the assistant chief I was working with.
Okay. Okay, I just really, I really would like to see a dollar amount on it. You know,
That would be by resolution. And I think for us, especially if you want to save money, to put dollar amounts into ordinances means you have to pay every time you want to change that. Whereas a resolution, you do not have to pay.
you don't have to say exactly that. You can say up to a certain amount. So when they do need to send in their, you know, when we do need to pay them out, that we know that that's what we're paying.
We'd be doing that by resolution.
This way, every year you can debate
Every
it.
year you determine it.
You can have a debate. You can put 0 in there
Right.
this year.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to put 0. You know, these guys need, you know, I'm sure they have clothing that they wear that at work and that they go right to a fire and they're ruined, you know, so yeah, I agree.
This way, annually, the council that's in place that's reviewing your budget can annually take a look at the budget and say, well, this year maybe we have a little more, let's help them out a little bit more than we helped them out last year. This year we have a little less, you're going to ask them to get a little bit less. So this is just putting it in place because you can't do it without an ordinance, but it's really a decision that should be made based upon the budget. So every year it should be done that way.
Yeah, it's just a little odd not to have numbers or a cap at least in here,
It's
you know,
actually
because,
not that odd at all. A lot of towns do it this way.
well, I don't think it should be that way. I think there should be a cap because that's how you control it.
Get a chance to make that clear in 10 seconds. Any other specific comments?
No, that'll be fine.
All right, roll call.
Councilman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Del Piero.
Abstain.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes. All right, item number 5, ordinance number 2014-15 is first reading to update the Recreation Committee to include wording omitted when created. Yes.
Again, what I went over is because we have been appointing mayor with the consent of council, we need to put that wording in, and also because I wanted to just put the clear up the hearing wording, so it's consistent with what it should be. And this is just me, the motivation is because I believe firmly in the democratic process and then the majority rules, and also because I'm anal and like to clean things up.
All right, motion on item 5,
Motion.
second,
Second.
roll call, please.
No.
Excuse me, discussion, my bad.
Yeah, I have a few things to say. On the old one, you know, the township may remove any member in that whole clause. It's already, it looks like it was already in the old one. So we don't need to put it in the new one because it's already there. Really, the only wording changed is mayor, appointed by the mayor, or appointed by mayor with consent of council. So that's the only wording that's actually changing.
No, that's incorrect. I added, if so desired by the member.
If you're looking at the one that's online, that's the old one before you
Mhm.
change the ordinance. When you went from
No.
commission to committee,
Well, right, I have not the commission one. I have the committee that we approved and now the new one. And the only thing in there is to change, you know,
if desired by the member, really doesn't change much on here, because it's saying if the member shall be entitled to be heard in person or by counsel. So you're already giving them their choice. And to change it, you went from commission to committee because you said it actually gave less power, and you also said that it was outdated, invalid with the state, which I was just looking at some of the statutes, and it's still in there as Recreation Commission.
It's not updated yet. The book hasn't.
No, not on our website, on the state's website.
Right, we don't want a commission.
Right,
It's already
so it's
done.
not because
Committee
the
now.
state doesn't want it, it's because you chose not to. But what you did say when we turned from commission to committee was that it was giving that entity less power. So, to change it, to spend the money on the ordinance and to change this, it's less power, so why would we want, the first statute for the commission was done solely by mayor, so why do we need to change it, when there's less power given to that organization and anyway?
Because that's not how it actually was done in practice. That's the way it read in the book, but the mayor always got the consent of his council before he did it. It's not the way it said, but that's the way it acted in practice. So Chesla wanted to clean up the book to do it the way it was done in practice.
When was it done in practice that way?
Always.
It's always been council consent.
This year, yeah, we voted a bunch of people.
This year was, how
Yeah.
about past years?
No, I've always asked for council's approval. I don't think, other than committees, which we'll do from the dais, I've never, Jim's here, Matt's here, and they'll tell you, everything's always been by vote. And that's the way our charter's set up anyway. Neither here nor there. I don't need to chime in.
This is only first reading in this ordinance. This discussion
Yes,
should be
right.
had in second reading.
It's okay.
Okay, so we'll wait till second reading, but that's the only wording actually that's being changed, are those two things. And if it's calling for less power in a committee, I don't see a reason why we need to spend taxpayer dollars to change that.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider,
No.
Councilman Belkaren,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kay,
Yes.
Council President Chesla.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 6 is ordinance number 2014-16 is a first reading to update the salary ordinance. Ms. Schneider, you want to do that?
Yes, sure. The salary ordinance that is being updated is for the policemen according to their new contract. In order to pay them the new contractual rate, the salary ordinance has to be changed specifically to those dollar amounts. So we can't pay the policemen what they're due until we change the salary. And we need to get that done before the end of the year because we've already approved the contract, so we need to move forward. And that's why we're doing that.
But the form that we have to vote on tonight isn't the actual form
No.
that we're going to have, right? You don't have it all done?
It's, well, apparently, it has not, it wasn't done in time, and the chief hasn't provided all the numbers because he has not been available. So we're
How are
trying
we
to,
supposed to vote on it if we don't have all the information in front of us, tonight for the first time?
well, like I said, I guess it should have been done prior. I don't know how you want to handle getting these gentlemen their new salaries before the end of the year, and we have to do this all over again.
Well, no.
We
I
already have-
suppose we could just recognize that the intent is to get this in place for the benefit of the employees and not let the failure to have it in the form that it's supposed to be in get in the way of getting the town's business done. But I guess you have to count on the rest of your council members to see if they're willing to do that.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know why it wasn't done earlier in November or the meeting prior.
Okay. So it's up to
It
you.
wasn't prepared.
Your motion, if you want to make it.
Oh, it's my motion? Okay.
Sure.
Sure. I'd like to make the motion to update the police salary ordinance. We have the numbers. I mean, we have the contract. And Beth, can you add what you were telling me about the numbers you received for this ordinance?
They're right out of the contract. And also this evening, well, in the same ordinance, I updated the Department of Public Works also.
Okay, so the Department of Public Works new salaries have also been updated in there. As far as getting the correct numbers, I mean, I had no input on doing the ordinance or creating the ordinance.
Well, you negotiated the contract, right?
I did, but you know, I had no input on what the ordinance was. So it should have been done earlier, not by
That's
my
fine.
fault.
Okay.
Do we know that these numbers are correct? Has anyone triple checked?
idea.
Because we've had some errors on these
Is there a
numbers.
motion in a second?
Well, there's a motion right now. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
I think we need to confirm that these numbers in front of us are correct before we even do anything.
It is the first reading also.
Yeah, but if the numbers are, if there's a
If they're,
drastic difference between first reading and second reading, it could screw it up. But I think you've indicated that you're comfortable with that.
It's not it would not be a drastic difference. If it were, it would be something, small, because we do have the numbers right out of the contract. So if we're off by, a couple of $100 either direction, then that's what it would be.
So the numbers that are on here are the ones.
Yes.
And the blank ordinance is just blank. Okay.
So
All right. So
I have some questions.
Pretty much.
So what exactly we need to change this ordinance that we do not have in front of us is for 2014. So we're going to use the numbers that are in the 2014 column will be for the police.
14 through 17.
14 through 17.
So you're going to update the salary ordinance with each year, or do we need to do it every year
No, we will do it through 17.
through 17?
but
So that'll be
yes.
on the ordinance, and will be that the same for the DPW? Or,
Well, they're only have a 3-year contract,
Okay.
so
but that'll
their
be
numbers
listed
will
out.
be for 3 years. Your ordinance is a rate, correct? And then
Yes.
by resolution set it. Typically,
It's a dollar
it
amount.
is a range, but for the DPW and the police, it has always been exact contract. But you're gonna, so the number will be the 17 number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are we all good?
Yeah, I mean,
right.
I'm not happy not having an ordinance. Well,
listen.
I think
So
that's-
as not
it's our
to allow,
responsibility.
so as not to allow politics to get in
Right.
the way of the employees, I think we can take it on faith that the numbers we have in front of us are the numbers from the contract. And it seems kind of silly and petty to me to waste a bunch of time debating something that we know is going to end up in the draft once it's presented to us. There's a motion, there's a second. We've all kind of had the opportunity to put in our 2 cents. If nobody has anything further, let's take a vote. Anybody? Okay. Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Del Carro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay.
yeah,
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Item number 7 is order number 2014-17, first reading to provide Title 39 motor vehicle and traffic regulations to Phillipsburg Athletic Complex. By way of further explanation than I gave already, because I'm not quite sure what more I can add, it is to allow for motor vehicle enforcement in the Phillipsburg Athletic Complex. And the rationale for doing so is because to avoid the pandemonium that comes with not having traffic enforcement on the Phillipsburg Athletic Complex. For anybody who has children up there, who's been up there at game time or practice times, there's some safety issues with people parking where they're not supposed to. And so as to encourage people to follow the rules and discourage them from engaging in some of the activities they've been engaging in now, we've been asked by Mr. Shando and the SDA to adopt an ordinance giving our police department the authority to do that. Is there a motion, item 7?
Motion.
Second?
second,
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Del Carro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay.
yes,
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Mayor Stein.
Yes. Item number 8 is to authorize Mr. Sturbins to make an application to the Department of Transportation for available discretionary funding for improvements to the intersection of Roseberry Street and Belvedere Road. As I indicated to Mr. Imhoff earlier this evening, this is a request from Mr. Shando and Mr. Bauer from the Phillipsburg School District for the township to exercise its authority and request the Department of Transportation to provide whatever discretionary funding may be available to us to contribute to the cost of improving the intersection at Roseberry Street and Belvedere Road, in light of the fact that the SDA has reneged on its prior promise to give us the monies, or give the school district the monies for that purpose. Consequently, in order to ensure the safety of our residents and our students, our children that are using that intersection, I think it would be in our best interest to use our abilities to appeal to the DOT and hopefully Phillipsburg, and to the extent the county can do so, the county as well, to appeal to them for whatever discretionary funding may be available to all of us to defray the costs of those improvements. So motion on item 8.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
I have a question. As far as this, I know it's part of the contract to put in a light and make the improvements.
It's not really part of the contract. They made a representation that they would do it.
Okay.
You know, there's no holding their feet to the fire.
So if we don't get the money, it could possibly not happen.
Well, I think they'll cross that bridge when they get to it. It's going to come down to a matter of budgeting. The school district will have to address it if and when they get to that point. For now, they're asking the two towns that are that are immediately affected by it to use their best efforts, and I think they're going to appeal to the county to do the same thing, and then we'll go from there. We'll cross the next bridge when we get to it.
And so nobody's under any obligation to actually do this at this point.
Again,
Contractually.
Contractually?
Yeah.
I don't know whether, well, there's no contract. I guess there's land use questions, and jurisdictional questions as to, you know, who's ultimately obligated to do it, if at all. And I don't know, I can't imagine, I don't know what the town's reactions would be if they built $100 million school and somebody said you can't use it because there's no traffic light there. So, you know, that hasn't made it into the discussion yet, and I don't know if it ever would. But for the time being, I think if everybody concentrates their efforts on using their resources to try to get money from the state, then hopefully it's a discussion nobody ever has to have.
Okay, thank you.
Fair enough?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Del Piero.
Yes.
Councilwoman McDade.
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes, and Paul, it's my understanding that there are engineering plans done and on file with the high school. To the extent you need to make a reference to any of those, they'll be available to you. So, items number 1 through 12 under the consent agenda represent several items from the tax collector's office, an appointment to the recreation committee, a waiver of fees on a request from the Penn State Canning-Thon, which is a fundraiser for pediatric cancer. And lastly, a resolution to transfer funds for the last 2 months of the year per NJSA 48:4-58, the amount of $45,000 based on Ms. Doe's recommendation. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I have just a comment on number 10. This vacancy, it's a vacancy, is that correct? So you never actually had the 7th person?
We did.
You did?
Because she's no longer on the committee.
Can you tell me who that was?
Alyssa.
Alyssa. And last name?
Robertson.
Robert.
Robertson.
And can you tell me, because I have not been able to find it, the expiration dates of these folks that are currently on?
I think the only one who's expired. Yeah, the only one I know is Eric. He expires at the end of this year.
At the end of this year. So that's the only one that's expiring at the end of this year?
Yeah.
Okay. Have there been any other volunteer forms that had anyone expressed interest in being on the recreation committee?
I'd have to go through them. I don't know. Robin's been with me for 2 years now, so she's been here as the PTA liaison, and she's, as you know, she doesn't even have any children in Lopatcong Township School anymore, so it's
I don't know what other forms were
Yeah.
presented. I just know that Ms. Chesler
Right, this is my
sent this
recommendation.
recommendation over to me, and I put it on the agenda.
Yeah, no, I'm not questioning Robin's credentials at all. Robin's a great asset to the PTA and everywhere else in the community that she helps out. But I am just questioning if it was vacant for that long, why wasn't the appointment made earlier? And were there any other people that expressed interest before this appointment?
No idea. No one to me. Like I said, Ms. Chesler asked me to put the name, give me a name. I put it on the agenda because we're meeting today. If she had given me the name in November, I might have done it then. But it was made available to us today. Well, it wasn't made available for the agenda for today.
So do you
And
not,
I've known Ms. Wojcik, myself, and have no reason to doubt her qualifications either. So
right,
that's my recommendation.
I don't. So the people that do fill out volunteer forms, do they just not get looked at?
I think they all get looked at. But in this particular instance, Ms. Cheslow made a recommendation. I have confidence in her. I know Ms. Wojcik. I have no reason to go any further. So that's it.
Okay, it'd be nice to have a procedure for the volunteer forms. And, if you're going to fill one out, at least, it would be nice to be considered when you do fill one out, and instead of just, choosing someone who maybe filled one out at a later date.
Okay. Next. Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Valcarro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes, sorry.
Yes. End of the year meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 29, 2014 at 7 p.m. Council reports, Ms. Schneider?
Nothing to report this evening. Just want to wish Betty luck on her retirement. I don't know if I'll see you between now and when you plan to leave. I don't know what your date is now, or if it's changed, but I wish you the best luck on your retirement. Hope you have some fun.
Mr. Belcarro?
Yeah, as you can see, Baltimore, they're doing construction, the lane pipe, they're going to continue. Hopefully, I'm looking to be complete by the end of this month. And I just want to remind everyone that it's a one-way, you cannot come up when construction is going on during the day. So please listen to the police officers, and one way, there's a detour. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. McCabe?
Yeah, I have one thing. Our CFO search, as you know, has concluded. We had spoken at our last meeting that we were going to try to do a shared service agreement with POHAT. Well, POHAT, it seems, is having some discussions on the issue. However, is my, opinion, and as well as, Lou's, we're on this CFO committee, it's, we should not wait for POHAT any further. We need to, officially extend this employment opportunity to Lorraine Rossetti and get started. This will enable her to give notice to the towns that she works for that she will be leaving in order to come work for us. So the only thing that this changes is we'll get her on board sooner rather than later. If we need to do a shared service, if it can happen in the future. And again, the change would be we would lose a monetary contribution of POHAT would have ended up paying maybe 1/5 of her pension and her salary, which in the grand scheme isn't a whole lot. Sorry, not salary, benefits and pension. The salary still obviously is going to stay the same. We have to then, we'll sign her up for the 4 years. That will change as well. But again, Lorraine was and is still the best choice for a CFO out of the candidates that we had spoken to. So I guess what I need to do is make a motion to say, let's extend an offer to her tomorrow and get the ball, get her on board right away.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I do. And I'm not questioning her credentials, but I am questioning the rash decision to go to a full-time employee paying everything when you presented to the public last time that it would be a shared service and that it would be saving the township some money. I don't believe that we've vetted the correct person yet for this township. Also, when the advertisement went out originally, it was for a part-time person with consideration for full-time, and I don't think you got the proper amount. We got the proper amount of applications coming into the township to have a bigger pool of candidates that may be more qualified. I don't think that she's a good fit for this township, and I think we should have a temp in until we can find someone that is better vetted for this township. She may work in all the townships around here and she may have the credentials, but the audit reports say another thing, and I don't think it's a proper decision right now. I think it should be a temp until we can find someone else or, get a better pool of candidates.
Thank you. Any other council members? Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider.
I think this township should look very seriously at what's going on here, and I say no.
Councilman Belcarro.
There's nothing going on here. I say yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
I agree, and yes.
Council President Chesney.
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Okay, let's see.
Oh,
Ms. Chesley?
okay, I have, since we just had a meeting on the 19th, I don't have a lot of updates for my committees. The only thing I do have is Rachel and I vetted through 3 online payment vendors. I had put together a spreadsheet for all of council here. One was very expensive. Another one was a little cheaper, but it was still a cost to the township, not just the users. And they didn't have the automated update of the system. The one that I like the best and Rachel did like is actually free to the township. You only pay if you use it, and it's an automatic upload through our MSI provider. So the software is going to talk to each other. Rachel doesn't have to do anything. So I'd like to make a motion for us to, reach out to them to get a contract and have Katrina look at it so we can vote on it.
Okay, second
Second.
discussion. Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belcarro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesney.
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. I'm going to reserve my report for the last comment of the night. Tax collector is not here. CFO, any? No final report? Mr. Sturbins, anything?
Yeah, I have a few things, Mayor. Just want to advise the mayor and council and the public that the South 3rd Street project is done. There is some cleanup that's needed. We probably will not be able to get that done until the spring due to the weather, but the main aspects of the job, the roadway and the curbing, the sidewalk is complete at this point. I have further details for you for the December 29th meeting. Regarding Reservoir Road, earlier this year, there was an appropriation made to do some drainage improvements. We haven't done anything to date. There are some residents on that road asking when the township is going to be putting together some bid documents. My question to the council tonight, is this something that you want to move forward with at this point? If so, I would be, if you do want to do that, I would be able to move ahead with some requests for proposal documents. So it's really your call.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with getting bids for Reservoir Road.
Second
Second.
discussion. Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belcarro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesney.
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes.
Thank you. And then lastly, Councilwoman Cheslow was asking me about micro-surfacing, which is a type of surface treatment for asphalt, and whether that could have a role in the township moving forward with our road program. And certainly it can. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that tonight. Which roads, I don't know. It's something that really needs to be looked at. I wanted to know if the council wanted me to come back with a memo, maybe indicating what roads would be suitable, I guess, for that type of treatment at this point.
Makes sense.
Do you need a motion? I'd like to make a
Thanks.
motion to have review our roads to see which would be eligible for microsurfacing.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belcarro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesney.
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's it?
Payment of bill.
That's it.
All right. Motion to pay bills.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Actually,
Aye.
roll call.
So,
Councilwoman Schneider.
That's because you made me skip the part of the
Sorry.
report tonight. It's drilled into my head.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belcarro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesney.
yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Approve department reports.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Yeah, roll call that too.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belcarro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesney.
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes.
Now your report?
Well, folks, one last round of
Your
questions.
report.
I'm exercising my right to get the last word in before I leave. Folks, questions or comments before we call it a night? Oh, I forgot to recognize, by the way, 2 folks I wanted to recognize are here, are your county leaders. The first is a Lopatcong resident and our freeholder, Jason Cernaski. The second is the Warren County Community College's president, Dr. William Austin, who's also in the back of the room. So I want to welcome both of them.
You stole my thunder a little bit. I was going to introduce myself, but
Hello.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Jason Sarnowski, Warren County.
In case you forgot who you were.
Yeah, in case I forgot. And proud Lopatcong Township resident. I came here tonight. I try to come to meetings every once in a while. I probably make only about 1 or 2 a year. Haven't been in a while, but I came tonight because I wanted to recognize and thank our mayor, Doug Steinhardt, for his long-term service to this township and for his service to, quite frankly, this county. He's always been there for me when I've called and asked for help. We'd be here all night if I began to name all the departments in the county and all the different organizations in the county that he's helped out personally, and myself personally on the many times I've called him for help. You know, I can't go into my kids' rooms without seeing a shirt that bears his name on it with a number on the back as well. So I just wanted to come here and on behalf of Warren County and on behalf of myself, thank you for your time and your service. And, you know, it's been great knowing you as a mayor and as a friend. So thank you very much, Mayor. All I have. Thank you.
Folks, anybody else before we finish? Yeah.
Joe Imhoff, 240 Aurora Street. Looking at the Lopatcong website, at the minutes of these regular Township Council meetings, I see that almost every month minutes are approved for previous month's meetings or perhaps the previous 2 or 3 months. Tonight you approved the minutes of the regular meeting for October 14th. On June 11th, minutes were approved for May 7th, May 12th, and May 16th, regular meetings. And yet, while there were executive sessions held on each of those dates in May, no action was taken to approve the minutes of those executive sessions. Further, I can go back on our website to December 29th, 2010, and have found that since that date, December 29th, 2010, there has never been any approval of any executive session meetings. Submitting an Open Public Records Act request just last month for the minutes of executive sessions for all of 2013 and 2014 year to date, I received not minutes, but the resolutions authorizing those executive sessions to be held. And according to the Open Public Meetings Act, and while Ms. Campbell is not paid to advise me, she could probably confirm this to Town Council, minutes are to show at minimum, and among other things, individual votes of each member and actions taken. None of this can be given on any resolution or agenda which is prepared prior to the executive session being held. Minutes are a written record of what was done. Now, my first question tonight, Mr. Mayor, is have minutes been taken for the executive sessions of the Council of Lopatcong Township, specifically for the period of February 2013 through year-to-date 2014?
Well, Joe, as you know, this is public comment, not public question and answer, so I don't need to spend my time answering your questions. But if you want to finish reading your speech, I will respond when you're done. I probably screwed you up. Come back and find your spot.
No, I have it printed out because I want to stay within my 5 minutes, or else somebody will cut me off.
I don't think anybody's ever cut anybody off here.
My second question would be, to your knowledge, have minutes of the executive sessions of the Township of Lopatcong ever been taken, and at what point were they stopped? When I questioned Beth on November 19th, when she presented me with resolutions and not minutes, why did I not receive minutes? She said, and I quote, "I was advised not to take minutes at executive sessions."
That's not correct.
Would you tell us tonight, Mr. Mayor, were you the person who advised Beth not to take minutes at executive sessions? And finishing my speech, again, at least 3 of you on council have run on a platform which emphasized transparency. What we are talking about tonight is the history of the township. Big thing, 100 and something anniversary. But this is the history of the township. We're talking about actions that this council has taken under authority given to you by residents who voted for you and who trusted you with the affairs of the township. And you have maintained a discreet silence in the presence of what I see as an egregious violation of no minutes being taken. Can these minutes be restored? Is it not important to you to preserve the records of the business of the township? I welcome all of your comments, but never getting them in the past, I would doubt that I would receive any tonight. Because it is Christmas. Surprise me.
Thank you for your comments.
I'll comment, Mr. Imhoff.
Well, I'm going to actually go first.
Okay, you can go first.
Your article didn't make the Express print edition, but it was online, so I kind of knew you were coming, Joe. So I spent a little time doing my research before you got here. No, the system that we have is the one I inherited in terms of minutes. But let me read you. Let me do a little of my own reading. First of all, NJSA 10:4-14 is the statute dealing with meeting minutes and specific executive sessions, and it only requires a governing body to compile reasonably comprehensible minutes of all meetings showing the time and place. And there are a handful of court decisions that specifically deal with those, beginning first with Payton versus New Jersey Turnpike Authority, which was a 1997 New Jersey Supreme Court case that said to accommodate any privacy interest that may be implicated by disclosure of minutes of legitimate closed sessions, extent of disclosure may be modified appropriately provided the public interest is not subverted. Second, it goes on to say in Liebskin versus the Mayor and Municipal Borough Council of Bayonne that Open Public Meetings Act sections requiring public body to keep, quote, reasonably comprehensive minutes, close quote, simply requires that what took place at the meeting and what action was taken, and nothing more. Finally, regarding specifically executive session minutes, the New Jersey Supreme Court has also found that stenographic recordings, or in other words, verbatim recordings of what takes place there, are not only not required, but did not render the meetings or anything that took place as a result of those meetings void or illegal. Now, when you go into the little New Jersey practice series, which is kind of like the thing that teaches you how to be a lawyer, sort of, there's a section on executive sessions as well. I'll read you the 4 paragraphs from there that I found that were interesting. There's perhaps no area as open to question today in New Jersey local government as the manner in which executive sessions are administered. This is true for several reasons. First, in many municipalities, minutes of executive sessions are simply not kept. In fact, in many cases, the clerk, who is required by law to be present and take such minutes, is often not permitted to come to the executive sessions. The only form of notes are perhaps informal notes taken by governing body members themselves. And interestingly enough, there's a court case in the pocket part, which is a little update, and I did double check to make sure that Beth kept our statutes updated, and she's got the 2014 edition. But there's an updated case that specifically says that the handwritten notes of the court clerk, of the municipal clerk, from the executive sessions as well as from the regular session meetings are not open public records because they're not required to be made or kept. They're simply her personal work product. The only official record that's required to be kept is the minutes themselves, and therefore those notes are not even subject to discovery. The passage goes on to read, second, even where minutes may be kept, they are usually substantially different from the minutes of the public sessions. For example, most municipalities use tape recordings in public sessions, turn off the recorder in executive sessions. Similarly, the length and quality of notes taken during executive session is radically different. They are shorter and less informative. Third, in many instances, these minutes or notes or jottings are never put through any kind of formal approval process. There are, in fact, municipalities which have not approved minutes of executive sessions since the Open Public Meeting Act was enacted in 1975. There are municipalities which have never released minutes of those sessions either. We've gone through our executive session minutes periodically. They get released from time to time. We voted on them throughout the course of my tenure anyway, as they are presented to us for release. Oftentimes, things that are in those executive session minutes or discussed during executive sessions deal either specifically, we're a fairly small municipality, so they deal with either personnel issues or they tend to deal with matters of litigation, which tend to drag on for periods of time. And as I think you may or may not be aware, Joe, that you're only required to disclose those those minutes at the point in time when confidentiality is no longer required.
That was wonderful. The Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, 1973, says, and I'll skip all of the stuff that you went over, which went right over most of our heads. Under minutes.
Well, I don't think it went over most. Most of the people were clapping.
Minutes must be kept of closed sessions. Minutes must be kept of closed sessions. Minutes should show, at a minimum, the names of the members present, individual votes of each member, subjects considered, and actions taken.
Those aren't executive session minutes. Those are the public meeting minutes.
I'm
Yeah, they are,
sorry.
Joe. I got the book right here.
It's closed sessions.
Jump to 10:4-14.
That's closed sessions.
Jump to 10:4-14.
Do you think I have
Well, you
everything?
should have brought the book.
Pages here?
That's part of your problem, Joe. You come and you photocopy what you want instead of bringing the whole thing. Bring the whole text and give everybody the benefit of all the information, kind of like the debates we've had over budgets and some of the other things we need to pass. You know, you have the bad habit of doing selective research. which is what
Point
you've
of
done.
order, point of order, Doug.
No.
You're not obeying the rules of this assembly, which says that you don't make defamatory.
I haven't defamed you yet, Joe. Not yet. I was getting close, but I hadn't yet.
Well, I know you can make defamatory remarks because you made them with my wife in a business in town.
Oh, I just.
So
Point
go
of
ahead.
order, what does that have to do
Go
with
ahead.
anything?
Are you
We're
done?
going to do that.
The same as the rest
No,
of
I'm
it.
not done. I would say that minutes need to be taken, even brief minutes. I mean, Ms. Campbell's counterpart, Richard Wenner in the town of Peabody, they take basic minutes. It's in the article in the Express. They don't go word for word like Phyllis might do with the planning board or the rent leveling board, but they give the people who voted you in some idea of what's been happening. If you don't want to tell anybody anything about executive sessions, that leaves room for, shall we use the word corruption, personal
I
preference.
don't know if I use the word
Point of
corruption.
order.
You want to
Now
talk
that's
about
defamatory.
being defamatory, maybe
Yeah.
at least something to interpretation, Joe.
Conflict of interest.
Uh-huh.
Some things have to come out, Doug. Not everything has to come out.
Hey,
I
Joe.
don't want to know the details of when you.
Hey,
when
Joe,
you dis-
the book
this person or
is
that person.
full.
You need to tell us something.
The book is full, Joe, of cases brought by people like yourself. You're not a stranger to filing complaints and lawsuits. So, listen, I would suggest you pick up a pen, and if you're unhappy, file a claim and challenge the township's, minute taking or note keeping, and see where you end up. Won't be your first time down that road. I'm sure it won't be your last.
Doug, thank you very much for being open.
No problem, Joe. That's at least you can expect from me.
Can I ask you a question? Why do we say that the need for confidentiality no longer exists if we don't take any minutes? And you don't have anything to provide anyway?
Have minutes. Mr. Imhoff
We do?
received a
Yes.
photo request.
Get them every month.
listed
Yeah,
every
but there's
topic that
nothing on it. It just says the topics that Katrina tells the public at the end of
And
the
we take
meeting.
no action in executive. We take all action in public and all that is documented.
Right, but it's not a
It does have to be
secret.
verbatim of our conversation.
But there is not a verbatim on there.
No, and
That's-
it does not have to be.
I know that. That's what I'm saying. If we do not have verbatim and we don't have any conversations and we don't take any action, why do we say the phrase, "The minutes will be released when confidentiality no longer exists"?
One of the documents
I'm asking.
that Mr. Imhoff made an open request for list personnel matter discussed. And when he received it, it had redactions on it because it had personnel, people's names on them. Some related to lawsuits, some related to personnel. And Beth and I blacked them out because the need for confidentiality exists. You can't tell me there's no information on it, because there is information on it. It says exactly what was discussed in executive session. All of the topics are listed out. So for the year's worth of Oprah requests he just made, he knows every topic that was discussed in executive session now because he has the list. The only thing he doesn't have is the names of personnel that Beth and I redacted out because it's their privacy rights that they don't need to be in there. So that's where the need for that confidence. If there was a lawsuit, there was a discussion about litigation, and we needed to black it out, that would have been blacked out.
Sorry, Joe.
I don't.
Hey, Joe.
What actions were taken?
Anybody else?
Point of order.
There was
Well,
no
you had
action,
your,
no action is taken in executive.
I
It's
know.
against the
As
rules.
Joe pointed out, he's satisfied minutes. So anybody else have any questions or comments before the night ends? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I was here last meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Susko,
Oh, yes.
Girl Scouts.
Yes.
Did I came in late. Did I miss something
No,
or?
Beth has the information for you.
Thank you so
Yep.
much.
You missed a lot, but not that. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Ma'am and ma'am.
Marla Endick, 10 Byron Drive. And Doug, I'm not going to address you at all because appreciate your service and you'll be on your way soon, but I do want to address council. What just happened tonight with the decision to extend the offer for a full-time CFO position, in my opinion, is shameful. This was sold to the township residents via an ordinance as a shared services agreement that would save the township money. Let me ask a couple questions. And maybe Ms. McCabe, you're the one to answer this. What?
I'm not asking.
Okay. Well, okay, public comment is, I'd like to know what's changed since the original ordinance where we discussed a salary of $75,000 for 30 to 32 hours. Is the offer still $75,000 for 30 to 32,
Yes.
or is it full-time
I'm not
hours?
supposed to answer.
Okay,
No.
so how many hours a week did Betty work for her salary?
She works full-time, 30.
Full-time, 35. So now it's 30 to 32 at $75,000. And is she going to be doing both the job as the sewer authority CFO and the township CFO? Maureen?
I'm not answering any questions.
Okay,
We've made
so
our
we don't,
decision. Thank you
okay,
for your
so we don't
concerns.
know. We will be paying full benefits now.
Yes.
And also, how long is the contract for this position? We had talked about a 2-year contract. It's a 4-year contract now.
The law
So,
requires it to be 4 years.
okay, so now we're locked into a 4-year contract for 30 to 32 hours, $75,000. And we don't know, and I'm guessing, well, hopefully she's doing the positions that Betty was doing, and there might be cost savings. But my quick calculation shows that actually it's an increase in an hourly salary if certain things aren't being done. And as I said, you really sold us on the shared services agreement. I don't know why that even went forward if you didn't have agreement from Lopatcong at the time. How would you go forward and present this and then present an offer to a shared services agreement to a candidate? And Ms. Schneider, your point was very well taken. You advertised this as a part-time position. Therefore, the pool of applicants who you would get would be people looking for part-time, not necessarily full-time. And had you advertised for full-time workers, you might have gotten highly qualified workers who would have accepted a lower salary, and that would have been doing justice to the taxpayer. Thank you.
Marla, it's not full-time, it's still part-time, it's 32 hours, 4 days a week, nothing changed other than the benefits.
All right, is anybody
You're
else?
paying just one extra day for the benefits.
Your comments are incorrect.
4
That's
days,
all.
and that was the original agreement. Right.
Right.
Well, we had to, in order to get, to hire full-time,
It's the law.
or part-time.
Mr. Johnson?
Go ahead. Good.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, so a quick comment for Lori and the recreational committee reason. I can't believe it's been a year already, but I have to say I really enjoyed it. And I'd like to continue my time on the recreational committee. I feel like we started a couple projects that I've been integral in getting the move started. I'd like to see the finish of it. So if I officially have to do another application, let me know. But I'd like to hereby officially say I'd like to continue my work.
What
on
we
the
usually
recreation.
do is, by practice, whoever is expiring, as long as you want to come back on, we put you on for January, and then it's voted on by mayor and council. Yes, because I really appreciate all the work you've done, and your ideas have been.
I know I wasn't there every time.
Oh, that's
with
okay. I
soccer,
know,
but-
but yeah, I know. Thank you
And
for-
following up that, I think it was back in July, maybe June, we were talking about another issue with the Lopatcong pool that everybody was on board with. Let's get the income generated from season passes and part-time passes so we can take a look at the dollar amounts charged to residents versus non-residents, possibly do some shifts for the next year's season. So just as a reminder, I didn't forget about that request. I'd like to see the income generated by residents versus non-residents, maybe beginning of the year, so we can make some decisions, talk about it before the season starts. And my last question for Paula is, has anything progressed with the safety concerns on Stonehenge Drive and the intersection with Lauren in the school zone? Or are we still in the investigation stage?
Still investigation stage.
Okay, is there a time frame on it that we're thinking of? I know you said you had to get out there and take a look at some of the vehicle patterns and stuff like that. We're talking a couple of months still investigation, I'm assuming?
We need to go out and observe the traffic there during the morning when school is in session. So that's the last step here. We have the traffic counts, we have the accident reports. So this is the last stage of it.
Okay, great.
Okay,
All right, thank you very much, Doug.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for your 15 years.
thanks, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
Woods is 3 Greystone Avenue. I just wanted to thank the council and mayor for appointing me to the Recreation Committee. I've been serving on this committee and really enjoy it. We have a lot of fun, and it is my pleasure to serve this community, and I appreciate your faith. Most of all, I appreciate all that you've done over the last 12 years, Mayor Steinhardt. Sorry to see you go, but I just wanted you to know that I am a grateful resident of Lopatcong for all that you've done, all the sacrifices, personal finances that you've put into this township when it was not required, especially for fireworks and things like that. I know the time that you've spent away from your lovely family to serve this community, and I just want you to know how grateful I am. Thank you.
Ed, Mr. Schuster. And hopefully we'll close it out then. Get everybody on their way. No problem. Take your time.
Ed Schuster, Morris Park. First of all, before I say something to the mayor, for the people that have some issues and problems with the township, the way it's being run or whatever, my best advice would be try to run, get on council, and change things. Okay? Not this issue. I'm just saying if that's much of an issue, and you think it's that easy being up here and trying to appease everybody, run and get up here. Hopefully you do a better job. Personally, I don't think so, but that's to be seen. Mayor Steinhardt, I would just like to say thank you for your years of service. Thank you for working with the different councils you've had and making a better township. I think it's not that easy working with all different people all the time. I think you've done one heck of a job. So I think you've done an exemplary job. And I know all the extra little things you've done. I'm not aware of all of them, but I know you've done so much extra than just being here. And I know for the whole council, to be here all the time and try to make things right, make things run right, it's not an easy job. And that's why I try to tell these people, it's not easy being up here and trying to keep everybody happy. But I think you've done a hell of a good job. And I'd like to congratulate you.
Bruce, did you want to say something?
I just want to wish Mayor and Council, professional staff, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are we done?
Yes.
Yes, motion.
All right, my 2 cents, and I'll make it fast, I promise. Beth told me to prepare a speech, but I didn't. I'm not a speech person. I don't mind talking on topics, but the least favorite topic is me. It's just not who I am. I'm husband to Trudy, father to Dougie and Tia, son to Joe and Terry, and sister to Sue. Brother to Sue. Wife, brother. I'm doing this.
We're finding out things about you we didn't know.
Look, roughly 17 years ago, my then fiance and I chose to come to Lopat, which was, reflecting on it, we could have chose to go just about any place within the county. I was going to be working in Belvedere, and Trudy was at the time, so we settled on this township because it was, we kind of felt right here, and that's where we wanted to raise a family. And I'm very happy that I made that choice when I did. I have 2 wonderful kids that have done well in our school systems. My daughter just made National Honor Society at the high school, so I'm very proud of her. I've gotten to coach my little guy on his last couple of football teams, so I enjoy working with him. So rather than focus on me, what I wanted to talk about was the folks that I've met over the course of the time that I was here, and who impacted me through their selfless service, their commitment to the township, and just the general influence that they've had on me, and I think hopefully have made me a better person and a better public servant. Starting first with Brian Weeks in our road department, you'll not find a more dedicated group of guys that'll go out and do things at the drop of a hat. Doesn't matter what it is or where it is, but they roll up their sleeves and they're creative and figure out ways to get jobs done with, not always a lot of resources other than their own ingenuity. And it's to their credit that they get the work done that they do with the resources that they're afforded to do them. But they've all been gentlemen over the years, and it's been my privilege to work with them. Shirley Emery, Chief Marinelli, and all the folks in our police department. I got to tell you, as a lawyer for the last 20 years, I've had the opportunity to interact with police officers, not as a defendant, but as in towns all across the state. And I got to say, I don't think there's a more professional crew of officers, who invest their time and energy to make sure that we live in a safe and comfortable environment. It's been my privilege to work with them over the course of the last 15 years as well. Phyllis, Rachel, and Irene in the clerks and collector's offices and in the municipal court. Brad Decker, who's now moved his way up to the financial office, but had been with our road crew for a while. And of course, Gary Wolf, who make sure that this building is open and operational. A lot of you may not know, but Gary's been our emergency management coordinator over the years. He's the guy that when we had Sandy, when we had power out, and I don't know if it was Sandy, Gary, or if it was the storm before that at Halloween, when we had to pick our resident up. Gary and I stuck her in my Explorer because she had nowhere to go, and we drove this woman to the Belvedere Fire Company because that was the Red Cross shelter at the time, and they had no other way to get her there. So Gary and I took her down and packed up her belongings and got her down there. But Gary has been a member of our fire company over the years. It's just been a valued servant to the community. The only other thing I can remember with Gary is one day the kids were all playing ball behind number 2. And one of the football got stuck in a tree. God bless him. He climbed the pine tree, dug this ball out of, 30 feet up into the pine tree, 20 feet up into the pine tree so the kids could keep playing. John Fritz, Wayne Dagan, and the folks on our construction and zoning offices. John came years ago and took over for Tony and Parva Lesagio. Tony passed away from cancer while we were here, but John stepped in and did a marvelous job looking out for our residents and our interests. Our fire and emergency squads. Now, trying to remember the best I can, but during my tenure, Chief McGuire, Chief Danella, Chief Rivoli twice, I think, Chief Stiers, Chief Nigro, and now Chief LaFord. And their departments, who, again, with guys like Lou, I've had the privilege of going out with on a couple of occasions when the towns needed it and we needed bodies out there, whether it's like Jimmy alluded to, loading sandbags, pumping out basements, whatever it happened to be. I remember pumping out basements with these guys, 8-10 years ago with Jim, only to find out that my sump pump was working when I went out to pump everybody else's basement, and somehow in a couple hours I was gone. It stopped working, and I had to come back and pump out my own, which I think was the same trip where Jim and I, it was a secret that we managed to keep for years from my wife, but managed to lose my daughter in the course of our running through the township. Since I'm bearing my soul, we were stopped on Powderhorn to help a resident who had some water backing up into their house. Jim and I get out to talk to him on the curb. When we got back in the car, Tia was supposed to be in the back of the car. Jim and I drove away. We went down to the fairgrounds to look at the flooding on Strikers Road. And I looked into the back and said, Tia, look at the flooding. And she didn't answer. And Jim says she's not there. So made a frantic retracing of our steps only to get a phone call from the fire company and said that she had wandered over to the fire company. So at least she had the forethought to know where to go. But just one of a couple of fun evenings over the years. Chairman Van Vliet and Chairman Barsick, who've headed up our planning board and zoning board of adjustment, and the folks that have volunteered their time on those boards, taking a lot of heat for it. over the years on certain things, but I'll tell you, again, they're a group of folks that have deep roots in this township and wouldn't do anything other than what they think is in the community's best interest, and have never done anything other than that. And they should be commended for the time and the service that they put in, as well as those serving on the Rent Leveling Board, the Shade Tree Commission, the LAA, the EDAC, and our other volunteer committees. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our EMS squad as well. I've had meetings with them over the years, as all of our volunteer groups struggle to keep up their membership. Part of the reason why tonight we had an ordinance on the agenda to try to recognize the time and energy and the out-of-pocket expense that comes from those folks having to give of their time and resources to make sure that we can live in a safe and healthy community. Betty Dobes, our CFO. Betty came in and took over for Carl Meitzel, who was here for the first several years of my service. And Carl was an interesting guy. He kind of did everything when I first got here. He was our CFO, our tax collector. I think he did everything. He might have had Gary's job too. I have no idea. Carl did everything. But I learned a lot about public finance from Carl. And then Betty came and taught us a whole different way and a more up-to-date means of doing things, and really helped refine our financial systems. And I think she's been an invaluable asset to the community, as I'm quite sure she was to every other township that's had the honor of having her work for them. It's been my honor and privilege to work with her here, and I'm certainly going to miss our conversations, as I'm sure the town will miss her service. Then there's the familiar faces from all the various meetings, starting, of course, with my friends Bob and Barbara McFarland. Years ago when I first came here, I met Bob at the anniversary fire parade. He and I were selling mugs and for the benefit of the fire company, and we became friends shortly after that, and he's been by my side ever since, through 5 elections and countless conversations and consultations, and I appreciate their friendship immensely. But others that have been here regularly for 15 years, first and foremost would be Bruce and Diane Hall. Quite frankly, I think they've been at more meetings over the 15 years than I have. They probably did be an A for attendance, but Bruce and Diane have always been here, and from Diane's time ages ago, dealing with Community Day, to Bruce on our various volunteer boards. I think you'll find that there aren't 2 more committed residents to keeping Lopatcong a wonderful place than those 2. Mrs. Troxel and Miss Wismer, who used to sit in the back row and remind us every meeting that they couldn't hear us from the days. Mrs. Hayford, who I didn't see tonight, but of course Bill and Linda Taggart, Ernie Gallant, Kathy DeVos, Gary, who's a regular fixture here, Ms. Mitzak, Jimmy Polito, Andy Horn, Brian, who comes all the time, Mr. Schuster, of course, who's kind enough to step up a little while ago, and Connie Miller, who I don't see tonight, but Janet is here. Just a handful of the folks, and I hope I didn't miss anybody, but just a handful of the folks that come here month after month, year after year, to keep a tab on the township's business. Regarding the colleagues that I've had the privilege of working with over the years, when I first got here 15 years ago, it was with Fran Aiello and Kathy Dagan, and Jim Mangucci, and Bill Baker. Fran and Kathy left the year after that, and I got the privilege of serving for the next decade and several years with Bill Baker, Matt Curry, Victor Camperine, and Jim Mangucci. And not only was it my privilege to serve with them, but candidly, I think they were 4 of the most intelligent, selfless, dedicated folks that I've had a chance to share a dais with, and in many instances to befriend. And I thank them for allowing me the opportunity to sit here with them. And of course, insofar as the council's concerned, Jimmy was up here earlier. One person in particular, Jim Mangucci. Jim welcomed me here 15 years ago, and during that point in time, I came to know Jim as a guy that has public service like born into his heart, and I respect and admire him for what he did and for what he does. I learned far more from him over the years than I'm quite sure he ever learned from me, which is the opportunity to share the dais with him. Was a privilege of mine, and I'm grateful to him for the friendship that we built as a result of it. And that leaves Ms. Diltz. Beth, again, Beth was here when I got here. But she's been the victim, unfortunately, of a lot of negative attention for a handful of wrong reasons over the last couple of years. Sadly, as a community, I think we've evolved into trying to find the bad instead of looking for the good in people. Beth's not just good. Quite frankly, in my opinion, she's the best clerk that I've met in my 15 years of public service and my 20 years of being an attorney. Her salary, which has become a topic of debate and criticism, isn't just a gift for her showing up, but rather it's earned by her performing duties in an exemplary and an exceptional manner. And again, I don't think you will find a more dedicated, selfless person drawn to what they do than Beth. The knowledge that she brings to the table, the fact that she sat there with me over the years and not just counseled me, but listened to me, let me bend her ear, let me bounce ideas off of her. And the experience and expertise that she brings to the table has been recognized not just by, I think, many people within the township, but quite frankly, her colleagues with whom I've seen her interact over the years and who I've heard talk about her as I've dealt with things at the League of Municipalities and other places. But she's just a wonderful person and has been a wonderful friend to me. And you know, that's something that I'll cherish long after I leave here. Let's see. The folks that I'm sitting at the dais with today, again, and Mr. Schuster alluded to it earlier, it takes a special person to want to sit up here and subject themselves to the type of criticisms that you'll be subjected to when you're here. And I commend every one of them for that. And while we might have had our disagreements, I don't respect any one of them any less. I've developed some great friendships, even with the current folks up here, that I never expected would have happened. But what I've come to learn is that they're all wonderful people who love this township, and in a lot of respects, probably more so than I do. But it's to their credit, and I think this community's benefit that they're here and doing the things that they do. 15 years ago, I promised to do the best job that I could. And I'd like to think that I did that. I do have a couple notes. These I'm going to read. I hope for some of you that it was just that. To those of you for whom I fell short, I can't tell you that I would have done anything differently. I can tell you to the converse, I absolutely would not. I don't regret a decision that I made. I believe every decision that I made and every vote that I cast was done with what I thought was the best interest of the township at the time that I made it. I have one parting wish for my successor, which is that your critics, and I'm sure you'll have them, they come with the territory. Quite frankly, I hope they treat you with more class and respect than you and some of your friends have treated this council and the folks that work here. You're not going to find a better group of people than the folks that sit at this dais, and I hope they have the same effect on you that all of them have had on me. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Good luck to everybody, and God bless.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.
No.